Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Polish ebook before it's gone.
Welcome to PolishPod101.com's Polski w 3 minuty. The fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. Cześć, jestem Joanna. Miło Cię poznać. Hi, I'm Joanna. Nice to meet you. In this series, we're going to learn basic Polish expressions. It's super easy and it only takes 3 minutes. In this lesson, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Polish. We'll start speaking right away. But first, it's important to clarify that in Polish often there is a difference between formal and informal language. Let's first see how Polish people introduce themselves in an informal situation. Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Cześć, jestem Joanna. Miło mi Cię poznać means nice to meet you, but Polish people don't really use this phrase. In informal situations, it's better if you just say miło mi. Start by saying cześć, jestem, then say your name. Cześć, jestem Joanna. Finally, if you want, say miło mi. Cześć, jestem Joanna. Miło mi. And now let's see the same sentence in formal speech. Dzień dobry, nazywam się Joanna Suchecka. Miło mi Pana poznać. Good day, my name is Joanna Suchecka. Nice to meet you. Dzień dobry. Nazywam się Joanna Suchecka. Miło mi Pana poznać. This is what you say if you're talking to a man. If you're talking to a woman, say dzień dobry. Nazywam się Joanna Suchecka. Miło mi Panią poznać. Dzień dobry. Nazywam się Joanna Suchecka. Miło mi Panią poznać. So, what has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at these expressions together. Cześć has been substituted with the formal greeting dzień dobry, Polish for good day or good morning. Jestem Joanna also changed. Jestem simply means I am. However, during a formal self-introduction, you should avoid saying this. It's better to say nazywam się Joanna Suchecka, which means my name is Joanna Suchecka. Also, in formal situations, please remember to say your full name. Finally, pay attention to the ending. We went from miło Cię poznać to miło mi Pana or Panią poznać. We changed Cię into Pana or Panią. If you use Cię, you're addressing someone around your age. But if you find yourself in a formal situation or talk to a person who's older than you, use Pana to address a man or Panią to address a woman. One more time. The informal way to introduce yourself in Polish is cześć. Jestem Joanna. Miło mi. The formal way to introduce yourself is dzień dobry. Nazywam się Joanna Suchecka. Miło mi Pana poznać. Or dzień dobry. Nazywam się Joanna Suchecka. Miło mi Panią poznać. Now it's time for Joanna's insights. If you feel confused about the nice to meet you part, feel free to skip it. As I mentioned before, Polish people don't use it much. When you introduce yourself, it's a good habit to shake hands. It doesn't matter whether you're meeting a man or a woman. Do the handshake. Remember to make it quite firm. If your hand is too loose, it gives the other person a bad impression. We also say it feels like holding a dead fish. That's it for this lesson. Do you know how we say thank you in Polish? You'll learn how to say this and much more in the next lesson. Do zobaczenia! See you! Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to PolishPod101.com's Polski w 3 minuty. The fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. In the last lesson, we learned how to introduce ourselves in Polish. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use good manners as we thank people. Gotowi? Are you ready? Let's start. There are 2 ways to thank someone. Let's start with the easiest one. It's just one word. Dziękuję. Dziękuję. Dziękuję means thank you. When saying thank you very much, you just need to add bardzo. Dziękuję bardzo. If we want to thank a friend, usually we use a different, more casual word. Dzięki. Dzięki. Dzięki is very similar to the English thanks, so you shouldn't use it when your friend did something especially nice for you or when the situation is serious. We usually use it to thank for small favors. For example, if a friend bought a drink for us, lent us a pen, helped us carry our bags, and so on. How do you answer? It's easy. Here are 2 different ways to do it. The first is nie ma za co. Nie ma za co. This means you're welcome. Nie ma za co can be used with anybody, except in a very formal situation. In such cases, it's better to use this expression. Przyjemność po mojej stronie. Przyjemność po mojej stronie. Literally, this phrase means pleasure is on my side. It's not a very common thing to say among young people, or between friends and family members. But it will be considered very good manners if you answer with this expression in a formal situation, such as while talking to your boss or speaking to someone much older than you. You can also simply say it to someone you don't know very well. So when someone says dziękuję to you, you can reply with nie ma za co or przyjemność po mojej stronie. If you hear dzięki, it might be a bit too much to respond to this casual phrase by saying nie ma za co or przyjemność po mojej stronie. So how might you react then? You have 2 options. First one is just to say nothing. Don't worry, it's a normal thing to do. The second option is to say spoko. Spoko. This means something like it's cool. If you want, you can also answer using this phrase. Nie ma problemu. Nie ma problemu. This means it's no problem. Now it's time for Joanna's insights. If you want to keep it simple, just use dziękuję or dziękuję bardzo when you want to thank someone. It doesn't matter whether the situation is formal or informal. It's always the same. Remember not to say przyjemność po mojej stronie to your friends, because it will sound a little bit weird. If someone thanks you saying dzięki, just answer spoko. But please note that these 2 words are very casual. Do you know what do widzenia means? In our next lesson, you'll learn this and other greetings in Polish. Dziękuję i do zobaczenia na następnej lekcji. Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to PolishPod101.com's Polski w 3 minuty, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. In the last lesson, we learned how to thank people by saying dziękuję. In this lesson, we will learn some of the most common greetings used in Poland. Gotowi? Are you ready? Zaczynamy. Let's start. There are a few informal greetings in Polish. Cześć. Cześć. Cześć means hi or hello. Another informal greeting is siema. Siema. This phrase also means hi, but it's used only by young people. Another very common greeting is hey. 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 Hey is very easy because it's exactly the same as English hey. All these greetings are very informal, and we should only use them with friends or close relatives. Now let's move on to formal greetings in Polish. There are only 2 that you need to know. We'll start with dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. Literally, dzień dobry means good day. We can use dzień dobry during the whole day, from early morning until evening. If it's the evening, we would say dobry wieczór. Dobry wieczór. What should you say when you leave? Polish people usually say do widzenia when living in a formal situation. Do widzenia. Do widzenia means goodbye. If, however, we are saying goodbye to friends or relatives, we can use the informal papa. Pa, or simply pa. Now you can greet people and say goodbye in many different ways in Polish. Let's review them all again. First, formal greetings. Dzień dobry. Use this phrase during the day. Dobry wieczór. Use this phrase in the evening. The informal greetings are cześć, siema, hej. When living in a formal situation, we say do widzenia. And in an informal situation, it's papa or just pa. Easy, isn't it? Now it's time for Joanna's insights. Do you remember siema? It's an abbreviation of jak się masz, which means how are you? But we just use it in the same way as hi. It's a very common greeting among young people. You will find, as you continue to study Polish, that new greetings constantly appear among young people who often come up with new uses for well-known phrases or their abbreviations. During the next lesson, we'll learn the meaning of the phrase Czy mówisz po angielsku? Do you already know it? See you in the next Polski w 3 minuty lesson. Pa! Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to PolishPod101.com's Polski w 3 minuty, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. In the last lesson, we learned the most common forms of greetings in Poland. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you're asking it in Polish, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you are saying, even if their answer is no. Here's an informal way to say it. Czy mówisz po angielsku? Czy mówisz po angielsku? Czy is a particle which has no meaning. It's similar to the English do. In Polish, verbs change depending on the pronoun that is used. Since you can understand what the pronoun is by looking at the verb conjugation, we usually skip the pronoun itself. That's why there's no pronoun after czy. Next, we've got the verb mówisz, which means speak. Then there's po, which we always have to put right before a language name. And finally, angielsku, which means English. We're now going to make this sentence formal. First of all, we have to change mówisz into mówi, because the pronoun is changed from you into a respectful pronoun meaning sir or ma'am. Then we add pan, which means sir, or pani, which means ma'am. Everything else stays the same. Czy mówi pan po angielsku? Czy mówi pani po angielsku? Czy mówi pan po angielsku? Czy mówi pani po angielsku? Adding przepraszam, excuse me, makes the sentence more polite. Przepraszam, czy mówi pan po angielsku? Przepraszam, czy mówi pani po angielsku? The response you will receive could be one of these four. Tak, yes. Tak. Trochę. A little. Trochę. Nie. No. Nie. Nie. Nie mówię po angielsku. No, I don't speak English. Nie. Nie mówię po angielsku. Since the last one is a negative statement, we need to say nie before the verb mówię. Notice also that the verb is slightly different than before. Remember, the verb changes depending on the pronoun used. We are now talking about ourselves, so the sentence is nie mówię po angielsku. Now it's time for Joanna's insights. For those of you who are not only English speakers, you can obviously use this question with any language you need. Polish people study other European languages at school, so maybe you will get lucky. Just substitute po angielsku with po niemiecku for German, po rosyjsku for Russian, po włosku for Italian, po hiszpańsku for Spanish, po francusku for French. Today we mentioned the expression przepraszam. But did you know that this could also be used as an apology? In the next lesson, we will learn this and other ways to apologize in Polish. It's never too late to show your good manners with Polish people. I see you in our next Polski w 3 minuty lesson. Do zobaczyska! Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to PolishPad101.com's Polski w 3 minuty, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. In the last lesson, we learned the phrase przepraszam. Czy mówisz po angielsku? Excuse me, do you speak English? We mentioned the word przepraszam, which means excuse me. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to apologize in Polish. It's very easy. First of all, good news. We don't differentiate between I'm sorry and excuse me. In Polish, we have just one word, przepraszam, which can be used in both situations when we want to apologize or draw someone's attention. There's also no difference between formal and informal situations. It's always the same przepraszam. Let's go through some situations in which przepraszam can be used. If you want to draw someone's attention, just put przepraszam in front of the question. For example, przepraszam, czy to miejsce jest wolne? Excuse me, is this seat occupied? Or przepraszam, jak dojść do dworca? Excuse me, how can I get to the train station? In such a case, you can modify the question by adding panią if you're addressing a lady, or pana if you are addressing a man. For example, przepraszam panią, jak dojść do dworca? Excuse me, ma'am, how can I get to the train station? The meaning is exactly the same as before. We just emphasize the gender of a person who we talk to. You can choose whatever version you like better. Both are correct and polite. The other situation in which we use przepraszam is when we apologize. As I mentioned before, we have only this one word for making an apology. We can use it both in formal and informal situations. If you want to make your apology more complex, you could use this phrase. Jestem ci winien przeprosiny. Jestem ci winien przeprosiny. Please note that this is spoken by a man. Woman would say, jestem ci winna przeprosiny. Jestem ci winna przeprosiny. This phrase means I owe you an apology. Usually, after saying this, you are expected to explain what you did wrong or the reason why you think you owe someone an apology. There's one colloquial word used to apologize among young people. It's almost the same as the English sorry. We say sorry. Sorry. It's okay to say it to your friends, but only in the case of a small mistake, something not very serious. For example, when you step on your friend's foot or when you want to refuse going out. Now it's time for Joanna's insights. Making an apology in Polish is very easy. It's enough to just say przepraszam. Here, you don't have to worry about speaking formally or informally, or the age and gender of the person you are talking to. Do you know how to count in Polish? In the next lesson, we will learn the numbers in Polish from 1 to 10. I'll be waiting for you in our next Polski w 3 minuty lesson. Do zobaczenia! Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to PolishPod101.com's Polski w 3 minuty. The fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. In the last lesson, we learned some words used when apologizing in Polish. In this lesson, we are going to learn numbers in Polish, from 1 to 10. And you are going to learn them in only 3 minutes. 3 minuty. Let's start. 1. 1. 2. 2. 3. 3. 4. 4. 5. 5. 6. 6. 7. 7. 8. 8. 9. 9. 10. 10. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Great job! What is before 1? Do you know? It's the same as in English, but with a different pronunciation. 0. 0. Now you don't have any more excuses. You can give your friends your phone number in Polish. Let's try together. We will use the phrase mój numer to, which means my number is. Mój numer to. Mój numer to 602 849 020. Can you read it by yourself? 602 849 020. Perfect. Now it's time for Joanna's insights. In Poland, we use numbers the most often when we go shopping, especially when we ask about prices, which you will also learn soon. We also buy many things per kilogram. All vegetables and many fruits are not sold individually, but per kilogram. Also cheese, meat and sausages. So if you go to a grocery store or supermarket, you would ask the clerk for example, 1 kilogram of minced meat, 500 grams of cheese, or 2 kilograms of onions. Do you know the Polish word for 100? In the next lesson, we are going to learn the numbers from 11 to 100 in Polish. Your task now is to practice the numbers we studied in this lesson, from 1 to 10. Powodzenia! Good luck! Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to PolishPod101.com's Polski w 3 minuty. The fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. In the last lesson, we learned the numbers from 1 to 10. Do you remember? Let's practice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great job! And now let's continue from 11. 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19. And finally we have 20. 20. Okay, now repeat after me. I'll say the numbers and give you time to repeat each one. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. These numbers may seem harder to remember, but you really just have to memorize 14, 15, 16, and 19. The rest of them are just compounds of a digit and naście, like 13, 17. Easy, isn't it? Let's not stop at 20. Counting to 100 is super easy. Now I'll give you the tens. 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 70, 80, 80, 90, 90, 100, 100. The first three tens may be a little bit tricky because their endings are different from other tens. Let's take a closer look. 20 is made from 2 and 10. 30 is 3 and 10. And finally 40 is 4 and 10. Please note that we cut off the last letter of 4, which means 4. Then, starting from 50, it gets much easier, because we just take the digit and add the ending dziesiąt. Let's try together. 5 and dziesiąt is 50. 6 and dziesiąt is 60. 7 and dziesiąt is 70. 8 and dziesiąt is 80. And finally, 9 and dziesiąt is 90. The last thing to learn today is how to form compound numbers above 20. This is also super easy. Take the tens and simply add the numbers you learned in the previous lesson. Let's try it out. How would you say 56 in Polish? Let's take it step by step. 50 is 50. And then add 6, 6. 56. Isn't that easy? Let's make another number, for instance, 98. Take 90, 90, and add 8, 8. 98. After only 2 lessons, you are now able to count to 100 in Polish. In the next lesson, we are going to put your number knowledge to use. Do you have all the skills you need to go shopping in Poland? If not, I'll be waiting for you in our next Polski w 3 minuty lesson. Do zobaczenia! Cześć, jestem Joanna. Hi, I'm Joanna. Welcome to PolishPod1on1.com's Polski w 3 minuty, the fastest, easiest and most fun way to learn Polish. In the last lesson, we learned how to count in Polish. I hope you spent some time practicing the numbers because they will come in handy today. We're going to learn how to go shopping in Poland. Before we go, you need to know how to say how much is it? Ile to kosztuje? Ile to kosztuje? Are you ready to go shopping in Poland? Let's go! You see something you like and want to ask the shop clerk how much it costs. The first thing to say is przepraszam. Do you remember what that means? Excuse me. Przepraszam, ile to kosztuje? Przepraszam, ile to kosztuje? If we want to be more specific when asking how much is it and refer to a certain type of object, we first need to know if the object is a feminine or masculine object. If it's masculine, add ten when referring to it, and ta for a feminine object, and then say the noun. For example, a watch is masculine. Zegarek. Przepraszam, ile kosztuje ten zegarek? Excuse me, how much is this watch? Przepraszam, ile kosztuje ten zegarek? And skirt is a feminine noun. Spódnica. Przepraszam, ile kosztuje ta spódnica? Excuse me, how much is this skirt? Przepraszam, ile kosztuje ta spódnica? And finally, if we ask about the price of a few similar items, like these t-shirts, these apples, these toys, we have to add te before the noun. For example, przepraszam, ile kosztują te jabłka? Excuse me, how much are these apples? Przepraszam, ile kosztują te jabłka? At this point, the shop clerk will usually answer by saying just the price of an item. For example, 15 złotych, 100 złotych, or 24,50. What number is 15? Do you remember? Of course, it's 15. Now it's time for Joanna's insights. A quicker and more commonly used phrase is po ile, which literally means how much. Then we just add the name of an item we want to know the price of. For example, po ile te jabłka? Or po ile ten zegarek? Or you can just say po ile and point to the item. Both ways are perfectly fine. At this point, can you count złoty in Polish? We are going to learn how to do this and much more in the next lesson. I'll be waiting for you in our next Polski w 3 minuty lesson. Do zobaczyska!
Welcome to Can Do Polish by PolishPod101.com.
Cześć wszystkim, jestem Emil Nowak. Hi everyone, I'm Emil Nowak. In this lesson, you'll learn how to introduce yourself in Polish.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to Poland. Mark is having a casual conversation with Maciej Mazur, a passenger sitting next to him. After a short exchange, Maciej introduces himself. My name is Maciej Mazur, and you are?
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Ready?
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan?
Jestem Mark Lee. Miło mi.
Once more with the English translation.
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan?
My name is Maciej Mazur, and you are?
Jestem Mark Lee. Miło mi.
I'm Mark Lee. Nice to meet you.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Maciej Mazur introduces himself? I'm Maciej Mazur, and you are?
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan?
First is,
Nazywam się.
meaning I call myself.
Nazywam się.
Note:
Nazywam się.
is the shortened form of.
Ja nazywam się.
In Polish,
Ja
I is usually omitted.
nazywam się.
Is from the verb
Nazywać się.
meaning to call oneself.
Nazywać się.
Next is the name
Maciej Mazur.
Maciej Mazur.
Maciej Mazur. Maciej Mazur.
Together,
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur.
literally, I call myself Maciej Mazur, but it translates as my name is Maciej Mazur.
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur.
Next is,
A pan?
which translates as and you are in this context.
A pan?
First is
A?
and, as in and you are.
A? A.
Next is
Pan.
translating as you in this formal context.
Pan. Pan.
Note:
Pan.
is a formal way to address a male, and it often translates as Mr. Altogether, it's
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan?
literally, I call myself Maciej Mazur. And you? But translates as my name is Maciej Mazur. And you are?
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan?
Do you remember how Mark says, I'm Mark Lee. Nice to meet you.
Jestem Mark Lee. Miło mi.
First is
Jestem.
I am.
Jestem. Jestem.
Note:
Jestem.
is a shortened form of
Ja jestem.
I am. In Polish,
Ja.
I is usually omitted as it is understood from context. Next is the name
Mark Lee.
Mark Lee.
Mark Lee. Mark Lee.
Together,
Jestem Mark Lee.
I'm Mark Lee.
Jestem Mark Lee.
Next is
Miło mi.
literally pleases me, but translates as nice to meet you.
Miło mi. Miło mi.
This expression can be used in many contexts and is appropriate for both formal and informal situations. Altogether, it's
Jestem Mark Lee. Miło mi.
literally, I'm Mark Lee, pleases me. But it translates as I'm Mark Lee. Nice to meet you.
Jestem Mark Lee. Miło mi.
The pattern is
Jestem name.
I'm name.
Jestem name.
To use this pattern, simply replace the name placeholder with your given name or given name and surname. Note: this pattern requires a proper noun. Imagine you're Karen Lee. In Polish,
Karen Lee. Karen Lee. Karen Lee.
say, I'm Karen Lee. Ready?
Jestem Karen Lee.
I'm Karen Lee.
Jestem Karen Lee.
In Polish, there are both informal and formal ways of speaking. What you use depends on whom you're speaking with. According to Polish etiquette, in a formal situation, the person you're talking to should be addressed in a polite manner. When addressing a male, use pan, meaning Mr. When addressing a female, use pani, meaning Miss. This is also the polite way to approach strangers, people significantly older than you, and others in a formal situation. In the conversation you learned, a pan, and you, when addressing a male. If Maciej were addressing a female, he would have said a pani, and you. In casual situations or when talking to your peers, you can use the informal ty, meaning you. A ty? And you?
Let's look at some more examples. Listen and repeat, or speak along with the native speakers.
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. Nazywam się Maciej Mazur.
Jestem Mark Lee. Jestem Mark Lee.
Jestem Karen, miło mi. Jestem Karen, miło mi.
Dzień dobry. Jestem Emil Nowak. Dzień dobry. Jestem Emil Nowak.
Mam na imię Zuzanna. Mam na imię Zuzanna.
Did you notice how the last speaker uses a different pattern?
Mam na imię Zuzanna.
My name is Zuzanna.
Mam na imię Zuzanna.
First is
Mam.
literally I have, but translates as my in this context.
Mam. Mam.
Note,
Mam.
is the shortened form of,
Ja mam.
in Polish,
Ja.
I is usually omitted,
Mam.
is from the verb
Mieć.
meaning to have.
Mieć.
Next is
Na.
at.
Na. Na.
Note, there is no corresponding English translation for.
Na.
Next is
Imię.
literally first name, but translates as name.
Imię. Imię.
Together,
Mam na imię.
my first name is.
Mam na imię.
Note, this pattern can only be used with first names and requires a proper noun. Next is the name
Zuzanna.
Zuzanna.
Zuzanna. Zuzanna.
Altogether,
Mam na imię Zuzanna.
literally means I have first name Zuzanna, but translates as my name is Zuzanna.
Mam na imię Zuzanna.
The pattern is
Mam na imię name.
my name is name. To use this pattern, simply replace the name placeholder with your first name. You should be aware of this pattern, but you won't need it for this lesson. Let's review the new vocabulary.
Dzień dobry.
Hello,
Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say, nice to meet you? Miło mi. Miło mi. And the Polish pronunciation of Mark Lee's name? Mark Lee. Mark Lee. Do you remember how Mark Lee says, I'm Mark Lee? Jestem Mark Lee. Jestem Mark Lee. Do you remember how Mark Lee says, I'm Mark Lee. Nice to meet you.
Jestem Mark Lee. Miło mi.
Jestem Mark Lee. Miło mi. Do you remember how Maciej Mazur says, my name is Maciej Mazur? Literally, I call myself Maciej Mazur. Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. Do you remember the formal word for you when addressing a male speaker? Pan. Pan. Do you remember how Maciej Mazur says, "My name is Maciej Mazur, and you are?"
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan?
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pan? And do you remember the formal word for you when addressing a female speaker? Pani. Pani.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Karen Lee.
Karen Lee.
Respond by saying, I'm Karen Lee. Ready?
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pani?
Jestem Karen Lee.
Listen again and repeat.
Jestem Karen Lee. Jestem Karen Lee.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Zuzanna Zając.
Zuzanna Zając.
Include nice to meet you in your response. Ready?
Nazywam się Maciej Mazur. A pani?
Jestem Zuzanna Zając. Miło mi.
Listen again and repeat.
Jestem Zuzanna Zając. Miło mi. Jestem Zuzanna Zając. Miło mi.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Emil Novak.
Emil Nowak.
Say, my name is Emil Novak. Literally, I call myself Emil Novak. Ready?
Jestem Maciej Mazur. A pan?
Nazywam się Emil Nowak.
Listen again and repeat.
Nazywam się Emil Nowak. Nazywam się Emil Nowak. In casual situations, you can also use this pattern with just your first name. For example, Karen Lee can simply say, Jestem Karen. I'm Karen. Jestem Karen. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again. So try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Now you know how to introduce yourself in Polish. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to introduce yourself in Polish. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Welcome to Can Do Polish by PolishPod101.com.
Cześć wszystkim, jestem Emil Nowak. Hi everyone, I'm Emil Nowak. In this lesson, you'll learn how to tell someone where you're from in Polish.
This is Mark Lee, and he's on a plane to Poland. Maciej Mazur, a passenger sitting next to him, asks, "Where are you from?"
Skąd pan jest?
Listen to the conversation and focus on Mark's response. Note, the speakers in this conversation use formal Polish. Ready?
Skąd pan jest?
Jestem z Nowego Jorku.
Once more with the English translation.
Skąd pan jest?
Where are you from?
Jestem z Nowego Jorku.
I'm from New York.
Let's take a closer look at the conversation.
Do you remember how Maciej Mazur asks, "Where are you from?"
Skąd pan jest?
First is
Skąd?
meaning from where.
Skąd? Skąd?
Next is
Pan jest.
you are in this context.
Pan jest.
Let's start with
Pan.
translating as you in this formal context.
Pan. Pan.
Note,
Pan.
is a formal way to address a male, and it often translates as Mr. Next is
Jest.
literally is, but in this context it translates as are.
Jest. Jest.
Together in this conversation,
Pan jest.
literally means Mr. is, but translates as you are in formal Polish.
Pan jest. Jest.
Is from the verb
Być.
meaning to be.
Być.
Altogether,
Skąd pan jest?
literally from where Mr. is, but it translates as where are you from?
Skąd pan jest?
Remember this question. You'll hear it again later in this lesson.
Now, let's take a closer look at the response.
Do you remember how Mark Lee says, "I'm from New York"?
Jestem z Nowego Jorku.
First is
Jestem.
I am.
Jestem. Jestem.
Note in this sentence
Jestem.
is a shortened form of
Ja jestem.
I am. In Polish,
Ja.
I is usually omitted as it's understood from context.
Jestem.
Is from the verb
Być.
meaning to be.
Być.
Last is
Z Nowego Jorku.
meaning from New York.
Z Nowego Jorku.
Let's start with
Nowego Jorku.
which is placed in the genitive case because it follows
Z. Nowego Jorku.
is the genitive form of the proper noun
Nowy Jork.
New York.
Nowy Jork.
In Polish, all nouns have grammatical gender and are either singular or plural.
Jork.
Is masculine singular, a fact that will determine the form of other words in the sentence.
Jork.
Becomes
Jorku.
when it is placed in the genitive.
Nowy.
Becomes
Nowego.
to agree with
Jorku.
in gender, number, and case. Together,
Nowego Jorku.
before
Nowego Jorku.
is
Z.
from.
Z. Z.
Altogether,
Jestem z Nowego Jorku.
I'm from New York.
Jestem z Nowego Jorku.
The pattern is
Jestem z location.
I'm from location.
Jestem z location.
To use this pattern, simply replace the location placeholder with the name of your hometown. Note, this pattern requires a proper noun placed in the genitive and works with the names of cities, villages, towns, or countries. Imagine you're from Sydney. In Polish,
Sydney. Sydney. Sydney.
note the genitive form of
Sydney.
is.
Sydney.
Say, I'm from Sydney. Ready?
Jestem z Sydney.
I'm from Sydney.
Jestem z Sydney.
Polish operates with 3 words for you. Ty. You. Informal term. Pan. You. Formal term to address a male. Pani. You. Formal term to address a female. When talking about where you're from, the pattern jestem z requires the proper noun of a location, and this location name must be placed in the genitive.
There are some simple rules that will help you create the genitive case based on the ending of the noun. First, masculine nouns in Polish tend to end in consonants. To form the genitive for masculine, singular nouns, attach
A,
or.
U. Kraków.
Krakow becomes.
Krakowa. Londyn.
London becomes.
Londynu.
As a rule of thumb for masculine nouns, inanimate nouns or nouns of foreign origin in the genitive often end with
U. Nowego Jorku.
New York.
Nowego Jorku. Biznes.
Business becomes.
Biznesu.
Feminine nouns tend to end in.
A.
To form the genitive of feminine singular nouns, replace the
A.
ending with an.
Warszawa.
Warsaw becomes.
Warszawy.
If the noun ends in an,
K. Ga.
replace the last letter with an.
I. Polska.
Poland becomes.
Polski.
If the noun ends in
Ci.
or,
Zi.
replace the letter with an
C.
or
Z.
and attach an
I.
at the end.
Łódź.
Lodz becomes.
Łodzi.
Neuter nouns tend to end in an.
O.
To form the genitive of neuter singular nouns, replace the ending
O.
with an.
A. Morocco.
Morocco becomes.
Maroka.
Note there is a set of irregular nouns, such as
Seattle.
or,
Sydney.
that don't change in the genitive. Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat, or speak along with the native speakers.
Jestem z Nowego Jorku. Jestem z Nowego Jorku.
Jestem z Suwałk, a ty? Jestem z Suwałk, a ty?
Jestem z Seattle, a pan? Jestem z Seattle, a pan?
Jestem z Londynu. A pani? Jestem z Londynu. A pani?
Jestem z Polski. Jestem z Polski.
Jestem Australijką. Jestem Australijką.
Did you notice how the last speaker uses a different pattern?
Jestem Australijką.
I'm Australian.
Jestem Australijką.
First is
Jestem.
I am.
Jestem. Jestem.
Next is
Australijką.
an Australian woman.
Australijką. Australijką.
Note:
Australijką.
is the instrumental form of the feminine noun
Australijka.
Australian.
Australijka.
To form the instrumental case for feminine singular nouns ending in
A.
replace it with
On. Australijka.
becomes.
Australijką.
This pattern is
Jestem nationality.
I'm nationality. To use this pattern, simply replace the nationality placeholder with your nationality. Note: this pattern requires a noun in the instrumental case, and its gender will depend on the gender of the speaker. Mia Martin uses
Australijką.
Jestem Australijką.
a male speaker from Australia would use
Australijczykiem. Jestem Australijczykiem.
I'm Australian.
Jestem Australijczykiem.
Note:
Australijczykiem.
is the instrumental form of the masculine noun.
Australijczyk.
To form the instrumental case for masculine singular nouns with the ending
G.
or
K.
n
I.
is added before the instrumental ending
M. Australijczyk.
becomes.
Australijczykiem.
You can use this response to answer the question,
Skąd pan jest? Skąd pani jest?
or its informal form.
Skąd jesteś?
You should be aware of this pattern, but you won't need it for this lesson. Let's review the new vocabulary.
Suwałki.
Suwałki,
Suwałki. Suwałki. Z Suwałk.
from Suwałki,
Z Suwałk. Seattle.
Seattle,
Seattle. Seattle. Z Seattle.
from Seattle,
Z Seattle. Londyn.
London,
Londyn. Londyn. Z Londynu.
from London,
Z Londynu. Polska.
Poland,
Polska. Polska. Z Polski.
from Poland.
Z Polski. A pan?
And you, mister?
A pan? A pani?
And you, miss?
A pani? A ty?
And you?
A ty? Let's review. Respond to the prompts by speaking aloud. Then, repeat after me, focusing on pronunciation. Ready? Do you remember how to say from? Z. Z. And how to say from New York? Z Nowego Jorku. Z Nowego Jorku. Do you remember how Mark says, I'm from New York?
Jestem z Nowego Jorku.
Jestem z Nowego Jorku. Do you remember how to say from where? Skąd? Skąd? And do you remember how Maciej Mazur asks, where are you from? Literally, from where Mr. is.
Skąd pan jest?
Skąd pan jest? Do you remember how to say from London? Z Londynu. Z Londynu. And how to say from Seattle? Z Seattle. Z Seattle. Do you remember how to say from Poland? Z Polski. Z Polski.
Let's practice. Imagine you're Jack Jones from London. Respond to Maciej Mazur's question. Ready?
Skąd jesteś?
Jestem z Londynu.
Listen again and repeat.
Jestem z Londynu. Jestem z Londynu.
Let's try another. Imagine you're Emma Englot from Seattle. Ready?
Skąd pani jest?
Jestem z Seattle.
Listen again and repeat.
Jestem z Seattle. Jestem z Seattle.
Let's try one more. Imagine you're Emil Nowak from Poland. Ready?
Skąd pan jest?
Jestem z Polski.
Listen again and repeat.
Jestem z Polski. Jestem z Polski. This is the end of this lesson.
Remember, these can-do lessons are about learning practical language skills. What's next? Show us what you can do. When you're ready, take your assessment. You can take it again and again. So try anytime you like. Our teachers will assess it and give you your results.
Now you know how to say where you're from in Polish. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson. This is the end of this lesson.
Now, here's what you can do to cement this conversation in your head. Review the conversation with our dialogue tool and lesson transcripts. Study the key words and phrases with our spaced repetition flashcards. Review the key grammar and cultural tips inside the lesson notes. And test yourself with our assessment tests. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to access our Can-Do course.
Now you know how to say where you're from in Polish. That's all there is to it. Keep practicing and move on to the next lesson.
Hello everybody, this is Marzena from PolishPod101.com, and today I want to talk about two different ways of giving reasons in Polish. So, to give reasons in Polish, you have basically two choices. And we will talk about both, and we will say what the difference is. And there is mostly difference in structure, and because of that the meaning changes only a little bit, but they are very, very similar. So first of all, one way of giving reasons in Polish is to use the word żeby or aby. And you can choose whichever you like better. So you can choose, you can use żeby or you can use aby. The meaning is the same, the formality level is the same roughly, and they both mean in order to, in order to. And to use żeby or aby in a sentence, you must remember one very important rule. So both żeby and aby are always being followed by an infinitive. So a verb in infinitive form, when we give reasons, of course, they're always being followed by a verb in infinitive form. What does it mean? Well, infinitive form is just like a dictionary form, like the simplest form you learn, and then you kind of conjugate that and make it more difficult. So actually this is easy to use because you just use the verb in an infinitive form. And it can be single verb, or it can be verb as with many other words together, so as a phrase. But the verb in that phrase has to be in infinitive form. So now let's look at a couple of examples. Uczę się polskiego, żeby pojechać do Polski. Uczę się polskiego, żeby pojechać do Polski. This means uczę się polskiego, I'm studying Polish, żeby, in order to, pojechać do Polski, go to Poland. And again, like you can change this żeby here into aby, and there is absolutely no problem with that. This is the same sentence. So you can also say uczę się polskiego, aby pojechać do Polski. And the meaning stays the same. Notice that the verb pojechać here, pojechać, is in the infinitive form. And in Polish, almost all verbs in infinitive form have this ci at the end. So pojechać is the dictionary form, infinitive form. Pojechać do Polski. So this is a whole phrase. Doesn't really matter if it's only a verb or a whole phrase, but the verb has to stay infinitive. Then we have next one, ćwiczę, aby być w formie. Ćwiczę, aby być w formie. Again, we start with a verb here, ćwiczę, I exercise, aby, in order to, być w formie, to stay fit, in order to stay fit. So I exercise in order to stay fit. Again, we have być is the verb, so to be, and it's in its infinitive form. Again, the ci here is kind of showing us that it's a verb in infinitive form. And you can change this aby into żeby, not a problem. Now, the last example is a little bit different. So, przyjechałem do Polski, żeby uczyć się polskiego. Przyjechałem do Polski, żeby uczyć się polskiego. What does it mean? Well, przyjechałem do Polski means I came to Poland. So, notice that uczę się or ćwiczę, they are both in the present tense. While przyjechałem is actually a masculine form, so a guy would say that, and this is a past tense. So this is past tense from the verb przyjechać, to come. Przyjechałem, I came. So you can use this żeby or aby with past tense, with future tense, with present tense, it doesn't really matter. It's all here in the first part, while the second part always stays in the infinitive form. So the first part can be past tense if we are talking about past, or future tense if we are talking about future, or can be present tense if we are talking about present. But the second part always has to be in the infinitive form, so the dictionary form. And also one important note. So here you can use żeby or aby, whichever you like. But also there is one more usage to this. So this is giving reasons. But please note that żeby with past tense, so not infinitive form but past tense, can be also used for requests. Requests. So not reasons but requests. We will not cover it here today because that's a little bit different topic, but please remember that if you don't use it with infinitive form, but you use it with past tense, then it's a request. And then we have another way of giving reasons. So we already covered żeby, aby, and we will look at another way. So now, another way of giving reasons is in Polish, it's to use bo. Bo means just because, and it's very simple and very similar to English actually. So same as in English, because is being followed by a sentence. And here in Polish as well, bo is being followed by a whole sentence. So not only infinitive form, but the whole sentence. And for example, you can say, uczę się polskiego, bo chcę pojechać do Polski. Uczę się polskiego, bo chcę pojechać do Polski. This means almost the same as we've done before. So uczę się polskiego means I'm studying Polish, because chcę pojechać do Polski. Chcę, I want to. Because I want to go to Poland. And please notice that if we take this first part and we just leave chcę pojechać do Polski, that's a perfectly formed sentence. And it means I want to go to Poland. And you may say, oh, wait a minute, there is the verb in the infinitive form, pojechać, that's true, but that's not our main verb here. Our main verb here is chcę. Chcę. And chcę comes from verb chcieć, which this is infinitive form of it. And chcę is already conjugated. You can also say, the same as we had before, ćwiczę, bo chcę być w formie. Ćwiczę, bo chcę być w formie. Ćwiczę, I exercise because I want to stay fit or I want to be fit. Again, if we take this first part and we just leave chcę być w formie, that's perfectly well-formed Polish sentence and it means I want to stay fit, I want to be fit. And one more, a little bit different example. Przyjechałem do Polski, bo chcę nauczyć się polskiego. Przyjechałem do Polski, bo chcę nauczyć się polskiego. I came to Poland because I want to study Polish, or actually I want to learn Polish. So you probably noticed that this nauczyć się is a little bit different than what we had here, uczę się, like there is this na at the beginning. Yes, it's infinitive form, yes, but there is a na at the beginning, so it's kind of what is happening, right? But this na is actually, it's just showing us that this person wants to learn Polish, and this is like a complete action, so it's a perfective aspect of a verb. This means that it's already over, completed. Doesn't mean that it's already happened, but it means that I want to learn, like fully learn, finish it, not only like study and maybe fail. No, I want to learn and actually succeed. That's what nauczyć means, that's the difference. Uczę się means I'm studying now, but I still have a lot to learn. Nauczyć się here, it means that's already completed. So I came to Poland because I want to, maybe in the future, I chcę, that's not past, that's future, nauczyć się polskiego. In the future, because I want to fully learn Polish. That's why I came to Poland. I'm already in Poland. So again, you can change this present tense to past tense, and there is absolutely no problem with that. So let's wrap it up. We have two ways of giving reasons in Poland, and the major difference is the structure. And because the structure is a little bit different, the meaning on the second part, I had to add this word chcę, so it changes a little bit. And One way is to use żeby or aby, and you can use either, whichever you prefer, and those are always being followed by infinitive. So it can be one word, one verb, or it can be a phrase, but the verb in this phrase has to be in infinitive. Now, another way of saying, of giving reasons is to use bo. And bo is always followed by a sentence. So it cannot be followed only by infinitive verb. In this sentence, there can be infinitive verb, but there has to be conjugated verb as well. It has to be a sentence, basically. So those are our two ways of giving reasons in Polish. And please also remember that żeby, when it's followed by past tense, it can be used, or actually it is used, to give requests, to make requests, not reasons. So that the meaning changes. So this is very important, the infinitive part here. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you like it, please give us thumbs up and subscribe to our channel and go to polishpod101.com to get your free lifetime account. See you again. Thank you. Hello everyone, it's Marzena from polishpod101.com, and today I want to teach you the difference between two Polish prepositions, do and na. So today we are going to study the difference between na and do. And both of those prepositions, they translate into to in English. So both we can use when we talk about going somewhere. I'm going to my friend's house. I'm going to school. I'm going to work. I'm going to a party. And in English it's just one word and it covers it all. In Polish we have two words. And when you start learning Polish, you may first encounter do. And then right after you kind of learn na, and you are a little bit confused about how to use those and what to do and where to use it. So let's look at it today. Now, in most cases, you will use do, but let's start with na. So when do you use na? Once again, na translates as to. So when you're going to somewhere, and just let me really emphasize this, we are talking about going somewhere, moving somewhere, because we are talking about dynamic prepositions. Dynamic meaning that we are going somewhere. And na can be a dynamic preposition, but it can also be a static preposition when we are somewhere, like on or in English. And we are not talking about this. We are talking about dynamic preposition na. So with dynamic preposition na, we use it with accusative case. Accusative case, this means that when we conjugate, or when we change the word after na, the noun after na, we use it in accusative case. In accusative case. But this is only when we are talking about moving somewhere, not when we are talking about the static na. The static na we use with locative case, but this is not what we are going to talk about. So once again, after na, the noun is in accusative case. So don't forget to change it. And now, when do we use na? Well, first, we use na with islands or peninsulas. So when we are talking about going to an island, or when we are talking about going to a peninsula, we will use na. And the name of the island that follows, or the name of peninsula that follows, will be used in accusative case. So, for example, you can say, jadę na Majorkę. Jadę na Majorkę. Jadę na Majorkę means I'm going to Majorca. And jadę means to go somewhere by bus or by car or to fly somewhere, but not on foot. So jadę na Majorkę means I'm going to Majorca. Obviously, we are not walking there. Here we have another example. Jadę na Bali. Jadę na Bali. Jadę na Bali means I'm going to Bali. And both Majorca and Bali are in there's accusative case. So usually if you go to a dictionary, you open, you see Majorka, you will have Majorka, not Majorkę. So once again, first we can use na with islands and peninsulas. What else? Well, when we go to an event, when we move to an event, when we go to an event, to a party, to a, I don't know, well, something like big opening or something like that, we use na. So for example, you can say idę na przyjęcie. Idę na przyjęcie. I'm going to a party. Idę na przyjęcie. And well, you can also change this idę to jadę. This will mean that I'm going by car or by bus or by ferry or whatever. But idę na przyjęcie, well, the basic image is that you are walking. Doesn't need, I mean, you can still write, but you are not stressing it out here. You are just saying idę, I'm going, but doesn't really say I'm riding. And another thing, you can say idę na wykład. Idę na wykład. Wykład is a lecture. So you see, lecture is also an event. Something happening in a place is an event. So idę na wykład means I'm going to a lecture. And again, I'm using idę, which usually means on foot, but doesn't really have to be. It's just stating the fact that I'm going there, but you can write. That's not a problem. Now, so those are the main 2 points. First, islands and peninsulas, and then events. But that's not all. There are some exceptions, of course. And I will just teach you 2 main exceptions here, because I think that those are the ones that you will probably encounter first starting learning Polish. But there are some more. So first one, when we use, oh, actually I'm going to teach you 3 exceptions, bonus one. So first we use it with the word poczta, poczta. The word poczta means post office. So when you are going to a post office, this is not an event, it's not an island or a peninsula, but you still use na. Jadę na pocztę. Jadę na pocztę. You can also say idę na pocztę, which would just imply that you are walking on your foot. Now, so the first one is post office, poczta. The second one is uniwersytet, uniwersytet, which is a university. And you can say jadę na uniwersytet. Jadę na uniwersytet. Jadę na uniwersytet. Again, universitet or university, it's not an event, it's a place. But yet, you will use na. And it's definitely not an island, although I wish it would be. And the last one is lotnisko. Lotnisko. Lotnisko is an airport. And here as well, you will use na instead of the other one we will talk about. So, jadę na lotnisko. Jadę na lotnisko. So to put it all together, preposition na, when we go somewhere, we use with accusative case. This means that the noun that follows will be in accusative case, and we use it with names of islands, peninsulas. We also use it when we are going to an event, and there are some exceptions we just learned. Those 3 exceptions we just learned are poczta, post office, lotnisko, airport, and uniwersytet, university. For now, that's all about preposition na. Now, let's look at the other one. So the other one is preposition do. Preposition do also translates as to. And we also use it when moving somewhere, when we are going somewhere. So when do we use do? Well, If na covers islands and events, and then there are some exceptions, then do covers everything else basically. So it's used in most cases when we are heading somewhere, specific. For example, jadę do domu, jadę do domu. I'm going to my home, or home, but probably mine. Jadę do szkoły, jadę do szkoły. I'm going to school. Jadę do pracy, jadę do pracy. I'm going to work, and so on and so on. And of course you can change jadę into idę, which means just I'm doing it on foot, you know. Okay, now another usage, or very specific usage. So when we go to an event, we use preposition na. But when we go to a person's place, we use preposition do. So for example, if I say I'm going to a party, then I will say idę na przyjęcie, which was exactly here, idę na przyjęcie. But if this party is organized in my friend's house, and just instead saying I'm going to a party, I'm just going to say I'm going to Tomek's place, Tomek being my friend's name, in Polish you would just say idę do Tomka. Idę do Tomka. You can also say, like, you have a friend Basia, and you are going to Basia's place, and maybe there is a party, but you don't mention the party. You're just saying, I'm going to Basia's place. Then in Polish you would say, idę do Basi. Idę do Basi. I'm going to Basia's place. Idę do Basi. Notice that those words here, those nouns here, they're all being changed into genitive form. So the genitive case. Okay, so we now know that do is used mostly when we are going somewhere, heading somewhere. If it wasn't covered by na, what we explained right now, then if we are going to somebody's place, also when we are going to a foreign country, we would use do. For example, jadę do Ameryki, jadę do Ameryki. Or, so I'm going to America. Jadę do Japonii. Jadę do Japonii. I'm going to Japan. Jadę do Niemiec. Jadę do Niemiec. I'm going to Germany. Also, jadę do Anglii. I don't have this example here, but jadę do Anglii means I'm going to England. Jadę do Anglii. Now, England, and actually Japan as well, is an island, but we are not speaking about the island, we are speaking about the country, so we use do. Jadę do. So once again, we said that we use na in kind of like very specific cases. First, when we have an island or peninsula. Then when we have an event, when we move to an event. And then I said, well, there are those 3 exceptions I really want you to remember because you will meet them in your real life. Now, we use do in most of the other cases. So if instead of an event we have a name of a person we are going to, then we use do. And many other like everyday cases where we just move to somewhere specific that are not covered by this. Also countries, but there are some exceptions. First of all, those 2 countries I want you to remember. There are maybe some more, around 6 or 7, but there are those 2 that probably will come up in a conversation. So those I want you to remember. And those are jadę na Ukrainę, jadę na Ukrainę, jadę na Węgry, jadę na Węgry. So both Ukraina and Węgry are those exceptions, and as you probably, well, you can suspect that Ukraina is Ukraine and Węgry is Hungary, Hungary. So those 2 are exceptions, and because there are exceptions and we use them with na, they are here not in genitive case, but in accusative case. So we change the word accordingly to the preposition. One last thing I want you to tell, I I want to tell you about those two prepositions. So one last thing I want to tell you about those two prepositions is that, well, generally you can think about it like do is going to somewhere specific, while na is more like heading into that direction. So you can use them to just, distinguish between those two meanings. Usually, if you are going to a city, you will use do. But let's look at those two examples. Jadę do Krakowa, jadę do Krakowa, jadę do Krakowa, jadę na Kraków, jadę na Kraków, jadę na Kraków. So what is the difference? As I said, well, generally, those are the rules that you have to remember, but just keep in mind that do is more specific and na is more broad, like just that direction, but not exactly there. In which case, you actually can make a sentence like this, or sentences, two sentences, to distinguish between those two meanings. And what it tells you is that jadę do Krakowa means I'm going to Krakow, or Krakow, which, well, I will end up in Krakow, hopefully. But jadę na Kraków, it means I'm heading into that direction, but, maybe I will not go there. I'm just heading into Krakow's direction just to explain direction, but doesn't mean I'm going to Krakow. So I hope that makes it a little bit more clear, the meaning or the difference between meanings between those two is clearer right now, or so I hope. And let's just wrap it up again. So one more time, we have two dynamic prepositions when we move somewhere, and this is na and this is do, and both are being translated as to into English. Na is being followed by accusative case. Do is being followed by genitive case. This just means that you need to change the noun after that. And na is being used with, well, names of islands, peninsulas, or when we talk about an event, so when we go to an event. And then here are those three exceptions I want you to remember, which is post office, airport, and university. While do is being used in most of the other cases. And also when we go to somebody's place, to somebody's house, to somebody's place, when we just say the name of this person. I'm going to Tomek's, I'm going to Marta's, and so on. We use do. And also we use do with countries. But there are some exceptions, and two I want you to remember are Ukraine and Hungary. And then the overall meaning of do and na is just that, do is more specific, na is more like heading that direction, which you can actually show in those two sentences here. Jadę na Kraków, jadę do Krakowa. So you can actually play with those meanings if you want to. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And please remember, if you liked it, just give us thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to go to PolishPod101.com for more content like this. Thank you again and see you next time.
Expand your vocabulary with our Core 2000 Words ebook. It's free and packed with essential expressions that you'll use on a daily basis. Start building your vocabulary today. Click the link in the description below to download your free Polish ebook before it's gone.